G'day, mate. This is Captured in the Psych Ward, part 41. You see, Ron awoke with a big ache, in his back. And Ron had his own way of getting rid of that. Instead of paying money to the chiropractor, he got on his new exercise bike and rode for 20 minutes and then went and watched Wake Up, that up the show on Channel 10, and then went on the bike for another 20 minutes. And then at 6, he had a shower. Then went over to Fred's Cafe to buy his usual bacon and eggs and a cappuccino. And today he was trying to get Johnny's mind, because really, him and Charlie are always at each other. And Ron said, sometimes I really like to help this guy. I like him. He's a fun-loving guy. And then Ron left the cafe and got to the hospital to clock in and bring out the morning medications. And then he went to have a word with Johnny, and they were talking to each other. And Ron asked, what is wrong with you? Do you have voices, or do you have any problems in your mind? And Johnny said, ever since I lost my girl after she got murdered in that domestic argument that happened in Richmond a few nights ago, well, Johnny said he'd been feeling very sad and crying. He was so sad he could not live in this house anymore. So he decided to really get angry and yelled at a few people in the Melbourne hotels and pubs. And the bartender called the police, and then he said, Ron, you came along and I started feeling great. And my wife's funeral, and since then, and since he was in there, he was hearing this voice, shut up, wussy, every time he moved around, or said anything. And then Johnny said, do you like a wussy to you? Do I look like a wussy to you? And Ron said, no. Johnny, you are not a wuss. And what job would you like to do in the future? And Johnny said, well, I want to learn about doing a trade in electricity or plumbing. And Ron said, I can make sure I can do that in about 4 hours. And when they get back to me, I will help you get an apprenticeship with them. And then a news crew came into the HDU, and Ron apparently, to interview Ron, apparently it's for Channel 7 Melbourne, and Ron told Channel 7 that he is totally devoted to his patients and staff here. And every time someone comes here, he tries his best to give them courses and apprenticeships to get them on their way to getting reformed. And he knows he can't help everyone, but as long as he is one of the world's helpers, is good enough for him. And then they asked Charlie who he was, and he said he's Charlie Chaplin, and he is working on his new age silent movie. And this man, Ron, got me into a course, and after the interview was over, Ron offered to shout the crew dinner while the hospital staff took care of the medications, while Ron did the dinners, and he introduced them up to Fred. And Fred said, isn't that part of our plan, buddy? Not part of our plan at all, mate. And after Ron left there, a nice man said, hi, buddy, how's it going? I was wondering, what are you known as? And Ron said he was known as a mental health psychiatrist who had his own HDU at Royal Melbourne Hospital. And then the man said, you are a bloody legend. Yeah, mate, yeah. You see, you are a bloody legend. And then Ron bought a Coke and went home and watched TV and falling asleep in front of the television, again, as usual. And then he said to himself, yes, that man said I was a bloody legend, and I bloody think I am.